Okay, so we have the basis of our track, which is sounding very tough, very strong. It's certainly enough of a foundation for us to go on to some more musical elements. Again, they're fairly minimal. I usually try and find a nice drone sound, and then like a lead, kind of, if it's not an acidic type sound, at least a short sequence type sound, and finally maybe a nice stabby chord sound. You can sometimes use all three of those, or sometimes strip it back, save some for song development throughout the arrangement. So what I'm going to do here is go for like a drone kind of sound, and this is another excellent plugin. It's quite new actually. If I go to my Max for Live, Max MIDI effects here, I've got this thing here called Random Chord Generator Pro. I put an instance on here. Now, one of the well-known secrets of this type of music, but perhaps not well-known to you out there, so I'll let you in on it. One of the most popular chord types to use in this type of music is the dominant 7. It's got an especially kind of menacing but still quite emotional sound, but I'm going to change it up a bit. Let's use a dominant 7th chord, and the 5th here is going to be one semitone less, which in musical speak is a dominant 7 with a flatted 5th. And you can see I can set that in the random chord generator, and the next section I'm going to go to is the scale. Here you can restrict the dominant 7th chord that you create on your MIDI input device. I'm just going to use a standard keyboard here. You can restrict this to a certain scale. What I'm going to choose is a minor scale, and let's choose something quite radical like a B flat minor, or as it's A sharp minor, whichever you fancy. And what this does, this random chord generator, you just play one key on a keyboard and it generates a chord for you depending on your settings here. And you can randomize the inversions. Here you can see you've got a low note for the bass note. You've got your root note, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and so on. And here you've got various, you can go down an octave, you can go up an octave, and this can be randomized here using the dice as the random icon. Same with velocity, and you can even have delayed notes. So if you wanted to mimic like a piano player, for example, you don't always hit the chords at the same time with each finger. But in this case, we do want them to hit at the same time. So I'm going to leave that alone. The velocity, I don't want it to be too erratic. So you can set the minimum amount of velocity change when you hit random and the maximum amount. So I'm going to set there to be not much difference. But for the inversion, what I'm going to do is just turn the bass note off, which puts the root note another octave lower. Or even if it goes to -12, I believe it's 2 octaves lower, but I don't want it interfering with the bass, the very heavy bass that we've already got. It can get too muddy otherwise. So what we need to do now is put a synth after this. For drones, I especially like Native Instruments Massive. So let's get that there. That will load up and go to the browser. Okay, so I do know that this section here has some nice, let's have a look. Yeah, it usually has some nice sort of droney effects. So let's see what this does first of all. Let's play the chord. So I'm going to go to my keyboard and I'm just going to play a normal C. Don't really want that sound. That's more like it. Okay, so see what the low note does there. So let's change this up. Okay, it's not ideal. Ah, there we go, that's better. A drone, you generally want it to be very subliminal. You don't want it taking up too much of the mix. So let's just play around with this. Okay, what I'm going to do is filter that down some more. If I go to Melda Productions, I can get with my favourite EQ here and the sonogram, you can see where all this info is. I like a really sharp cutoff here, and I can remove all this low material. There we go. And it has a nice sort of beating sound, this drone. It'd be interesting to see how it beats if we use our sort of ducking effect that we used before. So I'm going to record this in. Now, filtered out most of the pitch information here. It's working better. It's almost, you just want something subliminal that's roughening up the track. You don't want it too clean, and that's got a nice kind of rough, sort of grungy sound, like a scraping kind of sound that's going on, a sort of industrial metallic sound that's very hard to pinpoint, and that's what I really wanted to get. And again, we can make the most of this with some reverb. And there's a really nice effect that I like to do. First of all, I'm going to double up this this kick. If I use this, I duplicate this, and then use this one if I put it in black to remind me, and then put it to sends only so it's not actually playing at all. This then becomes a sidechain source. Oops. So there we go, sidechain. And what I'm going to do on this drone here is go to Ableton's compressor, and if you choose generic compressor, that's all we really need for this. Go to the sidechain and take our audio from the sidechain. I really like that. I don't even think I need to play with the release. And it's got a nice slow attack as well, so it's not cutting down. It's got a nice sort of slow attack and a slow release. It's got quite groovy. So once again, we've taken quite a simple sort of sound and given it some movement. And what I'm going to do now is just give it some added movement here. One of the newer plugins that I've fallen in love with is this 3D style panner. Here you've got two panners. There you see yellow and red. Panner 1 here, panner 2 there. And you can see this is synced to the host tempo, and you can see here the number of bars here, and then we've got the various volumes of each of the panners and then the mix amount. So I'm going to put it to extreme for now. Raise the volume so you can really hear what it's doing. And I'm going to take panel 1 and I'm going to speed this up. So 0 bars. And I want it even faster than that. So that's dotted eighths. And what I can do now is just take the volume of that down a touch. And then we can go to the second panel here. Again, have that slightly slower. It's going right round. We can increase the volume of that one. So it's almost like you've got two sounds there, and then what I like to do is take it right down. So you can see it's giving it a nice subtle 3D kind of space sound. And it's just perfect to add a nice reverb. And once again I'm going to go to waves, because one of the nice things about their H reverb, if I choose its long one, I love that it's got the pre-delay tempo synced, which is just perfect for these kind of almost tempo synced kind of attack sounds. Excellent. Keep it nice and low in the mix. And again, I think just some final movement would be in the emphasizing different harmonics. So I'm going to go to D16 and choose their phaser. And I'm going to add this on the whole effect. So again, I'm always subtle with my effects. Excellent stuff. So there we have our drone.
If you like this course, why not head over to sonicacademy.com, where we have hundreds of complete track builds in every genre imaginable, including all the project files and samples. You'll also find tutorials on plugins and synths, mixing and mastering, over 250 tech tips, artist interviews, along with our award-winning plugins, samples and preset packs.